Okay, Game Art students, at this point you've maybe started putting together a parkour level and are perhaps getting frustrated when you're playtesting that you fall off and you don't have an easy way to keep playing without hitting escape and starting over. So in this video, we're going to look at how to create a respawn. We will eventually be making a blueprint zone that when the player falls into it, they go back to start. However, to do this, we're actually going to start by editing our player character. We can do this by either going to the content browser and going to search in our third-person folder, blueprints for the third-person character, but also even quicker, we can go to our blueprint dropdown and go down to where our third-person game mode is, and we see here that our default pawn is that third-person character, and I can click here to edit, and it will open it up for me. We will eventually be doing a bunch of stuff in here, so I'm actually going to grab this tab and pull it so that it's up the top and stays open, and I can switch between it and my level tab. In here, we can see a lot of the different code that makes up the blueprint of our character. If we look in the viewport, we can see a lot of different components. This, for example, is the mesh that makes up Quinn, as well as just an arrow showing which way is facing front for our character. We have a capsule component that everything fits within. This is the character's collision. Then we have a camera boom, which is the arm the camera's attached to, the camera itself, and finally a movement for the character movement, which has a lot of different settings in here. Some of the settings we can change in here affect how this character moves in game. So we can change their gravity scale, how fast they can accelerate, how much they weigh, and a number of different things here like their max walk speed. I mostly advise leaving most of this alone. However, I would scroll down, and this bit right here, air control, is one I would consider moving up. Air control is how much control you have over the character while they're in the air. So basically, can you back out of a jump, and can you move? It's not realistic for the real world. Once you've jumped, you can't change your direction in midair. But for a lot of parkour type games or platformers, you can sort of control even when you're in the air. I usually advise something around the range of at least 0.7. This makes doing parkour a lot easier. Switching to our event graph, you can see the beginnings of a lot of code that we're going to learn to do different things. They are helpfully labeled with this, which is a comment. And you can see here, if we start reading through it, we can start seeing what's going on. This bit, for example, says, when the game begins, get our controller, and assign the player's input. This is what makes it so that when you press buttons on the keyboard or use your mouse, the character can do different things. Here's some other code that includes how the camera moves, and how you move, and how jump works. Now what we want to do is add a variable here that is going to save where the character started in the beginning. We could do this a couple of different ways, but since this is all we already begin play, we're going to come here to the end of it where it says add mapping context, and we're going to drag out of over here. I'm actually going to disconnect from that now because I don't want the context of this. It's going to try to guess what I want. I don't want it to. The node I'm going to search for when I right click is called get actor location. I'm going to choose this green one here, which is a function. This is code that says, hey, where is the actor? Now we could put a different actor here, but we're interested in where we are ourselves. So this code is fine. I'm going to right click on this return value and turn it into promote to variable. This bit will now connect to here by dragging with my left mouse button. I do want to rename my variable here, and I'm going to call it respawn loc, L-O-C. I capitalized the L because although we don't want to ever put spaces in things, Unreal will basically treat a new capital in the middle of a word as a space. I then want to compile, and you can see when I do that, it creates a default value here for the specific variable, which is a vector, and it also puts it down here. You can see we have our respawn location, which is now under my variable options for the player. By default, this XYZ is 0, 0, 0, or the origin of the level. But it will immediately get wherever the player starts when the game level starts, and it will save it as this new respawn location. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and go back to my level. I'm going to go back to my blueprints folder and create a new blueprint class, actor. I'm going to call this BP underscore respawn zone. I'm going to go ahead and open it. So the main thing that we need for this blueprint is going to be an addition of a box collision. This is going to be a box that allows it to interact with things that enter it. I could also do these other shapes if I wanted. Here I'm going to also just rename my box. This is our death zone. I'm going to go ahead and leave it this size and shape for now. We'll change it once we put it in our level. I'm then going to switch to this respawn zone's event graph. With our death zone here selected, I'm going to scroll all the way down on my details panel till I see all these little events with little plus signs. We're looking for on component begin overlap, which is the second one down. I'm going to hit this plus sign, and it is going to create a new event in our event graph. Basically, this is the start of a bit of code. When this thing happens, aka something overlaps with my blueprint, we're going to do some other things. The node we're looking for here is going to be called a cast to. Casting is a simple way that a blueprint can talk to another blueprint. In this case, we're going to say whenever something overlaps with it, we're going to pull off of our other actor node here and type cast to third and choose the third person character. This node basically says, hey, is this thing touching me, you, third person character? And if you are what I'm touching, we're going to do more code. Because the event triggers when anything falls into the zone. So a moving platform, a physics object, anything, a bullet, it doesn't matter. But here, our first check is, hey, are you the third person character? Now what we're going to do, now that we're talking to third person character, we can make the third person character do stuff. And what we want it to do, I'm pulling off of the bottom here, is teleport. Finally, we want to know, where do we want it to teleport? Well, we saved that respawn location in our third person character. And even though that respawn location isn't a variable in this blueprint, it's a variable in the third person character. So we talk to it and say, give me that respawn location. Get respawn loc. Notice respawn location is a vector and has the same color output here as this destination location input for this teleport. I can connect this, and now my death zone will work. If the player falls in, it's going to teleport to wherever the player set their respawn location to. I'm going to hit compile to make sure my code works and save. Back in my level, I'm going to drag the respawn location in, and I'm going to move it so that it's beneath all my platforms. Finally, I'm going to click over here on the death zone itself, not the blueprint, but just the specific collision box, and I'm going to scale it much bigger so that it fits below the level. I can make it quite large. Now if I play the game and I fall off, when I hit that respawn zone, I immediately teleport back. It's not so much dying as teleporting, but it has the same look and same results. Later, if we wanted to have some sort of score that you lost when you hit this, we could add that code to it. Finally, a cool side effect of doing it this way is we can have more than one respawn zone in a level. For example, if I grab a simple floor here and put it, say, over here, and put maybe a lava material, on that floor, I can make the implication that the player shouldn't touch this. Therefore, I could then put a respawn zone on this platform and stretch it so that it covers the whole platform. Then, if for some reason the player jumps onto the lava, it will also kill them. In our next video, we'll look at how to make a blueprint that lets us set a new respawn location as a checkpoint.